Welcome back. It's Leo again here from marketingwithleonard.com. Um, just to recap, I hope you enjoy the last training video on how to install WordPress on using cPanel. I thought it was pretty cool. It's a much shorter version of installing WordPress. Now we're into Now into module 8, WordPress installation using file transfer protocol. Uh, and you're probably wondering, Leah, what the heck is file transfer protocol? Well, simply it's just a protocol. It's just a tool that you can download uh, on the internet and you can install it. And you're simply going to connect back. You're going to connect to this public folder, this public underscore HTML folder. That's the that's the root folder among all those domain there. You're going to connect to this using an application called FileZilla, and it's going to connect to that. Connect. Let me just repeat that again. It's going to connect to this folder, and among those folders, we will be able to see this domain folder, understandingwordpresstraining.com. And from there, we're going to simply transfer the files from my local PC into this folder manually. So instead of doing it here in the cPanel, which we have done in the previous training video, where we went into software services menu and click on quick install. Well, this approach is different. We're using a third-party free application. It's actually a free third-party application. You can download it from the internet. So the process is we have to remove this WordPress installation here because we cannot install WordPress on top of existing WordPress because ideally you have to have a clean domain. So we have to start from a clean slate. So what I'm going to do, this is live by the way, this is live, but I would not recommend this, when you already install WordPress and then you decided, okay, I wanna use FTP. You decide from the early on, you decide which method you're going to select to install WordPress, okay? So either use cPanel or uh, FTP, File Transfer Protocol Client. So I'm gonna demonstrate to you in this module, training module, on how we go about using FTP client. Let's do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove all these files. I'm going to delete all these files. Now remember, that's our site, okay? So if I delete that site, if I go into this, that's the domain there now, okay? It's connecting to WordPress, as you can see. That is WordPress there, okay? This is the theme. This is the theme, I believe in 2013. There it is. It's a 2000 version 13. If you log on to domain and we use, okay, it's already saved the credentials. If you go into Teams, it's very slow to connect to here because you're connecting directly to your server, and it's pulling that information all the way from your web hoster, web hosting company, which is this case is GoDaddy. That's why it's slow. That's why WordPress is slow, because it has to pull those information. It has to, from from uh, from where you're connecting all the way to cPanel. So if you're connecting, right now I'm connecting from Sydney, and HostGator is in USA. So that's a long way to travel to simply call up that information and then and then um, the server responds. That's why it's fairly slow process. Anyway, we are on the appearance menu, and this is the theme here. This is the 2013 theme. That's the old theme here, by the way, 2012. Now, if you want to activate the old theme, you simply click activate, and this will become your theme. So if I go back into if I go in here and open this up, as you can see, it's got different themes, different appearance. So all you're dealing with WordPress is mainly themes, and then you can customize that if you know a bit of CSS. You can customize that. Now, that's the default theme down here, which is the 2013. So let's activate it again, make it as our default theme. So if you go back in here and refresh this, you see it should change. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is let's go back into, let's close that. All right, let me just, because I'm using I'm RDPing to this virtual desktop. All right, so the first thing we need to do is remove all those information. Okay, so hang on a sec, Leo. What's gonna happen now if we delete this? Well, we're practically destroying the website. Okay, I will not. This is what I advise. Okay, do not do this on a production. As I said in the beginning, either you use the cPanel to install WordPress, or you use the file transfer protocol client. I'm just demonstrating this to you that there's two ways to install, actually three ways to install WordPress. But I need to start from the beginning. That's why I need to clear my my domain and all the files in it. Um, Let me repeat that again. I need to clear WordPress. Okay. Now I did not pause and clear this. This is live, so that way you can see how the process will play out. So what I'm going to do is highlight all that, and I'm going to delete that. So I'm going to deleting all that files there. These are all the files that got installed when we installed WordPress. So I'm going to delete that. So I want to make sure that I'm in the right domain. That's the first thing. For understanding WordPress, that's the right domain. That's our domain there. And we just simply highlight everything and delete the files. Gone. So it's just empty shell now. Okay. As you can see, it's just empty shell now. So if I go back into WordPress, if I refresh this and watch what happens. And error 404, a typical error, page not found. Okay. Because we've deleted it. Okay. So that's the first part. We need an empty. We need a. We're starting from a clean slate. Now we need to download the WordPress from WordPress.org/download. So the way I queried is I went back to Google and I simply type in download WordPress 3.7 because I remember that's our last version installed, and I found it's just right here. You click on that, and then you just simply don't use this. Just use this download WordPress. That's for mobile apps. This will work for mobile app as well. So if you click WordPress, we'll save it as a zip because it's a compressed file. Sorry, my voice is cracking up because it's been a long day. I've been talking to you guys, and it's a little bit late night here now, so just bear with me. Okay, so let's open this. So that's our WordPress file there. So what we're gonna Okay, that's fine. We downloaded it. So now what we're going to do about it? Okay. The second thing we need is we need to download a particular client. The client that we need to download is FileZilla client. And what we need to download is, let's see, maybe this version will have it. With this site will have it. Let's try that website. Okay. All right. FileZilla client, FTP, FTPS. Well, let's try this. Actually, let me just clear this. Well, rather than wasting time and looking for that FileZilla client, I'm gonna pause the recording and I'll come back one moment. All right, welcome back. Okay, I went back to Google again and typed the same thing, download FileZilla client, and it's just the second option up here. Just click on that. All right. So now it's got two flavors. One is the client version and one is the server version. Now we're not interested on the server. You know, we're not making this machine, this virtual machine, as a server. Okay. So forget about downloading that. What we are interested to download is the download FileZilla client. Now, so I'm going to click on this and I'm gonna click additional options. All right, so we have a couple of options. One is the .exe, which is highly recommended, and one is a zip file. So what's the difference? Well, the .exe, simply allows you to install it straight away. So once you download it, you can install it straight away. Whereas the .zip, it's a compressed version of the .exe. So we'll go up to the recommendation. So what I normally do is just right click on that and save as. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning of this whole training series, always select your desktop and save your download files there, because it's a lot easier to download them. You know, it's a lot easier to download, a lot easier to let me correct myself here. It's a lot easier to locate the file. And as you can see here, the download was finished. It was 4.6. I can't even speak now. My mouth is drying up. Let me pause the tape and I'll get something to drink so we can get this recording quite clear in quality voice. And I want to emphasize how important is this FileZilla and understanding it and how you install it and get familiar with this tool is quite useful tool. So let me pause the recording and I'll get something to drink and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. All right. Apologize for that, but I want to make sure that we'll get this discussion quite clear. All right. So we've downloaded the FileZilla client. As you can see here, it's a pre-version. This is an open source application, so it's a pre-FTP solution. All right. So if you minimize this, and now I've already installed this application pre-hand, so but what I can show you is if you're going to install this, you just simply follow the prompts. Now, because I've already installed it, it's already installed on this virtual machine, Alzilla, it's right there. It's asking me to add and remove it. So I wouldn't mind, you know, adding add, remove, reinstall components, so it wouldn't hurt. So I just want to, show it to you how it gets done. So when you get to this stage, you know how, what to expect, because you can pause this and, download the file and follow what I'm doing here. So it's a lot easier when someone show you how it gets done, so you can simply follow it. All right, so um, the options are here are not that important. I mean, you could use it as only you or anyone else. And I tend to select everything. And in here, if you have a now, how did I open that screen so fast? Okay, well, if you hit the Windows button on your keyboard and also the letter E, shortcut for the Explorer. Okay, so that's just a trick. I got so many tricks that I could use, but I don't want to use them. I don't want to go through the process step by step, so you know you're not missing anything. So if I want to go to the Explorer, I can hit that folder down there and takes me to the Explorer. All right, so it's asking for the destination folder. Okay, if you have a second local disk, let's say you have a local disk D, okay, I would normally put it on the D. Why is that, Leah? Well, my C drive is my operating system. Okay, I tend to separate what's my operating system and what my application local disk. It's just for a performance issue. Okay, I want my operating system to have its own separate local disk. That way, it will perform at the optimum level. So if I have a second local disk here, okay, I can install it in there. Well, why don't we actually do that? Let me add a second disk there. Now, because this is a virtual machine, it's not a physical machine, it's a virtual machine, I can add a second local disk there. Let's add a second local disk. All right, so I'm using a vSphere. Uh, it's just for a virtual environment, and as you can see, I got so many virtual machine here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a virtual disk on this virtual machine. So you don't worry about this. I'm just showing you. I'm going to add an additional hard disk. Actually, there's another hard disk in there already. There's already any. Alright, so it looks like it hasn't been enabled. Disk management. It's 2 megabytes. It's just a small one. Okay. Well, we need a larger one. I'm gonna put something. Let's put 10 gig. Okay, 10 gig of this space. Let me just add a second disk. Just bear with me. You guys can't see my screen. I'll share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm just adding a virtual disk here, 10 gig, and Okay. As you can see, it's right there. It shows up. I'm going to initialize this. Now I'm going to create a new volume. Doesn't matter. I'll just pick F. Just call it apps per application. Okay, so now we have a spare local disk, which is the F letter. I'm going to close that. As you can see, it's right there. All right, so let's target that letter F. Okay, so we're going to install it in there. Go next. Just leave the default setup. And yes, I'm going to launch. I'm not going to launch it yet. Okay, that's the actually .exe file. We don't need that. And that's the shortcut there. All right. So what are we looking at here, Leah? Well, there's two things that you need to pay attention here, or actually three things. Up the top here is your host name, your username and password. Now, these information are provided to you by your web hosting provider. So whoever is hosting your website, you will get those information when you signed up first time. Okay, so I have those information. HostGator gave me my host name, the username and password. Now below this, below that host name, username, password, that's where you authenticate. You see here it's local site and you see a remote site. Okay, local means local. It is your own local machine. Okay, you can see your local disk. I got my app drive and my CD-ROM drive. Okay, so that's that. That's what you're seeing there. Whereas the remote is it's your cPanel. You will be connecting to this public HTML. You'll be connecting to this public HTML, and that's where this remote site will be connecting to. All right. So let's begin. Let me put in my host name. Now, by the way, why sometimes I'm kind of, you know, getting stuck on things rather than, okay, you put your host name and password, username, password, bang, away you go, and then connect to this. And so for me, there's not much learning in there. I need to be able to explain to you why we're doing this. Okay, why we're putting the host name there, why we're putting the password, what is the purpose of the local, and what's the purpose of the remote. So when you begin to understand, what's the reason behind those, then you will appreciate the use of that particular features or use of that particular function. Okay, so it's that's how I explain it to my customers, to my client. I explain it the way I see it, and there's a reason for it. So let me put in my username and let me put in my password and click connect. You can see there's a lot of greens going on there, a lot of blues and greens. Okay, now it's connected. Okay, you can see a lot of greens, authenticating, response, which means I'm good to go. So what happens here? Well, as I said in the beginning, well, previously, FileZilla will connect to you to the back end of cPanel, mainly at the root folder of your, or particularly your public underscore HTML. That's the root folder of all your domains. But the home folder is actually here. That's your home folder. That's the primary root, because everything belongs to there. And this is the public root of all my registered domain. And if you scroll down, we'll see, you can see understandingwordpresstraining.com. Now, let's expand the remote site. As you can see, it's very much similar to what we've seen. See all those. Now those files, all you see the files here are actually backup, so don't worry about them. And what we're interested here, we are interested on the public underscore HTML. So that's where most of our domains, or that's where all our domains are located. And the one we are interested in is the underscore, I beg your pardon, understanding WordPress training. As you can see, it's fairly empty, you know. It is empty because we deleted the content. That makes sense. Now we've downloaded the, well, we haven't downloaded the WordPress yet. So let's go back and download the WordPress. So let's go into Google again. Download WordPress. And I want the 3.7 version. Okay, and click on that. This is the one I want to download. I'm going to save the file. And oops, we already downloaded it actually. Open that. Okay, I've downloaded two, so we don't need that part. We only need this one. Okay, so what we need to do here is this. I'm going back into my app drive and create a folder called FTP client. Go back and download and cut this file. Drop it in there. Paste. All right, so that's our WordPress there. So now what we need to do is we need to extract this information. Okay. So we need to extract this information, and just going to leave it there as a default. Okay, so that's done. Now, I said to you in the beginning of this training series or training course, there's two ways to install WordPress. Well, there's actually three ways to install WordPress. What we're doing here is the second way. This is the second method. So if we go back in here, go back into our local site, and then we go into File, Client, FTP, Client, WordPress. Those are the files there. Okay, it's pretty much the same as we have done in the past. You know, similar files that we've deleted. Okay, similar files that we've deleted prior to downloading the FTP FileZilla client. All right, so let's go back. Now, from here, we're simply going to copy all this information and just basically transfer them across. Okay, so if we go back into our okay, so we don't need the zip file. Actually, I'm not going to delete that. I'm going to cut it back, cut it, put it back to download. Okay, so this is the second way. So we're going to transfer all this file in here. Okay, so if we copy that in here, drag and drop, what's going to happen is it's going to populate this folder. I'll give you an example. So if I only pick this file and then transfer it across, okay. If I go back into my cPanel and refresh this, I'm expecting one file there. All right. So that's how convenient this FileZilla is. It's very useful, especially if you're changing, a specific file only. Let's say if you want to edit an image, you have a new image, you commission someone to create a banner for you, and you specify the dimension, the width, and the length, and you simply go into your local site, and then you simply transfer that file from here to your remote site, and it will update the back end of your cPanel relating to that particular domain. So that's very useful rather than going into, logging into cPanel and going into, file manager, and then you end up here, and then you have to go upload, pick the file. So it's a very lengthy process. Well, with the FileZilla, it cuts all those steps, and you just simply drag and drop it. But obviously, you have to be connected to your host when you do that. So you might have to initiate the connection. All right, so let's go back into FileZilla. So as you can see, that's the second way. So we transfer all this file, and then we can simply log on into WordPress, just like what we did from the beginning after we install WordPress. Now the third way to install WordPress is you can simply upload that zip file. Remember that zip file that we download? That file there? We can upload that file. And this is what it's doing now. It's uploading it. So I'm going to delete that file, which I'm deleting it straight from, okay, that's gone. So it's now downloading it. This is my second prepared method of installing WordPress. And you'll see in a minute why. It says complete. 3.1, 69, sorry, it's not complete. It's 69% complete. It's downloading by 46 kilobits per second. 86%. So we'll just wait for this until it's finished. Okay, it says complete. Alright, so what we need to do is just close this. And if we refresh our screen, okay. Now that's a zip file, okay. We need within that file all contains all the bits and pieces that makes up WordPress. So what we're going to do here is simply extract this. See this button here, extract. And I'm going to extract this into this root folder. So now extract, you wish to extract. I'm wish to extract this file and to new directory. I want to extract it to here. So hit extract. I want to extract all those files and then click OK to that. Okay. So we don't need that zip file. We can just delete that. Now, that's a typical WordPress. When you install it, it will install itself under here and it will create a folder WordPress. So what we need to do is move those files, all these files here, just one above, up, above, up. So we're going to move the file and we're going to move them into this domain folder. As you can see, they'll disappear. If you go back here, here they are. Now this folder here, now it's empty. Okay, so we go back there, and what we need to do is we just simply delete that. All right, so all right, so that's the third way to install WordPress. I'm showing you this. The second way to install WordPress is to transfer all these files. I didn't transfer them because this is gonna take a little while because the size of this is about 40. You know, it's about 40. I think it's about 31, 32 megabytes or something. Oh, it's 15 meg, so it's not too bad, but it's gonna take a while because it has to transfer every single file. Okay, so let's go back into WordPress, into cPanel. So that's the third way to install them. So if I refresh my screen, as you can see, all the files are all there. And what's missing is the .ht. That file is missing. It's a typical WordPress, so we had to add that in. So if you go into we'll see that error message. We've seen this before. Okay, because it's what it's doing is excuse me, it's looking for that file, and within that file it needs to, so it's looking for this particular file, the h.ht access, and within that it's looking for this directory index, and it's going to call this index PHP. Well, we've seen that this PHP existed. It's right there. But what it can't see is it can't see this file. So there's nothing to call up. That's why we're getting this error 404, page not found. Alright, well, why don't you just add that file and then add in within that file, add that line. Well, exactly that's what we're going to do. But here's the trick. Here's the trick that I normally do. You don't need to add that file from scratch. All you have to do is copy an existing one. And what I normally do is I'll go to my other website. As you can see here, I can copy that. And then I'm going to We're going to put it into our domain, understanding WordPress training.com. Okay. Now if we go into that domain there, I should have a copy of that there. There it is. And if we edit that, click edit, I'm expecting there's already a line there. You can actually delete all that information. Actually delete that information which we don't need, and save that. If I refresh this screen again, it's still picking it up as it's still not able to find that particular file. So let's go back in and close this. Let's go back into cPanel and let's copy that file again. Okay. Alright, so let's go back into understanding WordPress training.com, and there's the file again. Let's edit this, and we just want to make sure that line there exists, and there it is. So we close this. Let's refresh this again. So just need to create a config file. Alright. So this is a typical WordPress. When you install WordPress from a WordPress file, it will ask you all those information. So we have those information. Remember our database name. That's our database name there. Let me get that database name. So username, password, and we can just call this any name, and we need our database name. So we have to go back into our cPanel, MySQL database. Now in here, remember we created that database, and the database name is, there it is, WordPress training. So database name is alphalad underscore WordPress training. So that's our database name, the username, the password, the localhost. And hit submit. Alright, Sparky, this part of the installation WordPress can now communicate with your database. So run install. Okay. So now here we're going to name the title, site title, Understanding which is a very basic domain name. And we're going to use exactly the same password that we've used before. Okay, and the email address. And I don't want the search engine to index this site yet because it's not ready. Okay. So before we install it, let's recap what we've done. So the second installation is simply copying all those files and drop them here. The reason I didn't do that because it takes time to complete this. Although it's 15 megabytes, it's going to copy every single file and it's going to take about half an hour to 45 minutes to complete it. But the process is just straightforward. We just copy it here and just drag and drop all those files. So that's pretty much it. And then we just log on to the page and fill in those information that I've shown you before, all this information. We have that information already. The database username and the password, the database name, we took it from our cPanel, which is, check the database, which is our database right there. So alphalad underscore WordPress training. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so let's go, let's proceed. So we fill in all the relevant boxes, and we're not going to allow the search engine to index this yet. I'll show you later where we enable that. So install WordPress. As you can see, it's so fast because it's all it did is just connect all those database. WordPress is already installed. You know, as you can see here, we already extracted WordPress. All it did is just connect WordPress with its own database. And says here WordPress has been installed. You know, it can't be that quick. Well, it's already installed. We did that before. Expecting more steps. Sorry to disappoint you. It's kind of, whoever did that is a funny dude. So anyway, username PC user, the password. Okay, now we can log on. So that's a familiar looking login page. Absolutely. All right. So we have our password. Okay, and click connect or login. Click login. Bada bing, bada boom. Here we go. WordPress through a manual installation. So let's recap. I took you from the automated WordPress installation using the cPanel, and then the second approach is using FileZilla FTP client. We'll simply drag and drop those. And the third one is simply upload. We need, you simply upload the file, the zip file that we download, and then you log into the dashboard and fill in those relevant details as I have shown you. The username of your database. Let me repeat that again. The database name, the username of the database, and the password of that account. And then we basically install it from there. And as you can see, it's quite fast. All right. Well, so I hope you enjoy the installation of WordPress through FileZilla and through cPanel using the .zip file. And I hope you learned something new today. You know, it's good to understand, and it's good to know that there's few ways. That's the 3 ways to install WordPress, not just the automated way. Uh, I'm showing you those 2 other ways to install it to familiarize yourself that there's other way to do it, and at least that gives you an option, and get exposed to a different approach, and at least that's when you're being asked how many ways you can install WordPress. Well, I know three different ways rather than 2 ways, or rather than 1 way. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this training. Um, it's very technical, but I encourage you to go through this training again so you understand the mechanics of installing WordPress using FileZilla, which is a pre application, third party. You can download it from Google, and the third way is to upload the files from cPanel and extract it, as I have demonstrated here. Extract it, and then just jump onto the dashboard and fill in the relevant information. The information already, we took a lot of those information already, and the database name is on the cPanel. So we just simply check the database name here, and you can see here it's WordPress _WordPress training. So I hope you enjoy the training, and I look forward to the module 9, which is the working with WordPress. So we're going to go into WordPress, and look at all those different settings in WordPress, and their functions and what they are, and how you install Google Analytics plugins, and look at the themes. So that's going to be an exciting modules. Getting to know WordPress, getting to understand the features, and how it works inside. So now you know from module 1, okay, from module 1 to module 8, how you install WordPress from the back end of it. How we registered the domain, how we point the NS server. We looked at the cPanel. We slight introduction to the cPanel. We look at how you change the style, how you change the password on your cPanel. And then we looked at add domains. How are we going to add a domains? Setting up a subdomain folder. We looked at that, and we looked at how you install MySQL database, and then the first installation of WordPress using the automated quick install, and then we looked at the second way, installing WordPress to FileZilla, which is just drag and drop, and the third way is to import or upload that zip file, and then extract it, and then just follow the natural way of connecting to WordPress through dashboard by providing those relevant details, such as your database name, such as your username, and such as the password. And all it does is just connect WordPress to its own database. That's why it went pretty quick. The installation went pretty quick, and it's just a matter of connecting to the dashboard using the username and password that we associated or we nominated during the installation. And then we logged into dashboard WordPress, and bada bing bada boom. Now, now you're pretty familiar now and know how this thing works, and you get your competence now. So I'm getting excited now on the next module on how we look at, you know, how we're going to basically tackle all these features so you understand and you'll be able to install WordPress, configure it, install the theme, and then bring your website on live. So how exciting is that? Okay, so I took you from nothing into building your first website. And that's exciting. And that's what this training is all about. This training is it's all about you, not me. I already know how to do this. I've done about so many website installation, and so I practically hire my full-time BA to do this for me. I don't need to do this, but I'm just sharing my experience and my knowledge as being an IT engineer. That there's a lot of ways to install WordPress, and I'm finding them so easy to do it, but there are other peoples out there. Maybe you haven't seen WordPress. Maybe you have a little experience with WordPress. Well, after going through all these videos, now you understand how it works. Now you understand how you install it, right? You've seen how, you've seen how you download WordPress. You've seen how you upload it, extract it, and then link it back to the database. I mean, that's technical stuff. For me, for me, because I've done it many times and because of my technical background, I don't find it, I find it relatively easy. But for people that are not technical, this is a perfect training. That's why I've designed this training that takes you step by step. It's just like you sitting next to me, and I'm explaining, what buttons to push, why we're pushing it, and things like that. So I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed this training. It's a bit technical, and I encourage you to go through this training again to familiarize yourself, particularly the last training on how you install WordPress using the cPanel quick install. All right, so enough about me, and not enough about me. We'll go in the next module. We'll be looking at the WordPress. We're going back to this site, the dashboard, and start setting it all up, configuring it, and explaining what are the features and the functionality and the plugins that you need to download and things like that. Uh, all right. Well, thanks again for your time, and I look forward seeing you in the next video.